Confusion over a prison inmate's gender may have taxpayers paying for a costly legal battle. The inmate's name now is Jasmine, but it was Jose. She has threatened to sue the Department of Corrections because she says she was classified incorrectly, forced to live with inmates of the wrong gender. Here's 9 Months to Know investigative reporter Jace Larson.
This story boils down to this: is this person a man or a woman? Well, we found the answer is not as easy as it might seem. A photo album of mugshots tells the story of one Colorado criminal who's been housed with men and women. The question of who this person is complicated. What's your name?
Jasmine. Why, what's your name?
Jasmine Martinez says she was born both a male and a female, a hermaphrodite.
My female dominates more than my male.
Jasmine Martinez was born Jose Ruiz.
I grew up as a boy because my family wanted me to grow up as a boy.
At 18 years old, Ruiz started his run-ins with police. He was living his life as a man, so in jail and prison, he was always locked up with men. But by the time he got into his 30s, Jose Ruiz had changed into Jasmine Martinez. She looked dramatically different the next time she went to prison.
Because I was the only one in the prison that had breasts. It's like being the parade, being the main attraction of the main float.
She says she was bitten, raped, and beaten. Why did they beat you up?
Because they wanted to have sex with me.
Jasmine survived, but she plans a civil rights lawsuit against DOC.
They need to recognize that they can't just treat people the way they want. We're humans.
Even though DOC has a special unit for hermaphrodites and inmates going through a sex change, staff decided Jasmine didn't belong there.
And we have medical protocol in place to do a full evaluation.
Is it possible that they make mistakes?
My understanding is you can't make a mistake between a female or a male or a true hermaphrodite.
One agency says DOC did make a mistake. Jasmine was in the Jefferson County Jail before her last prison stint. Medical staff did their own examination and came up with a completely different determination. Jasmine, they said, belongs with women.
There's an elaborate process, in my opinion, that goes on to ensure that we know and we're classifying this inmate in the proper way.
She was my bunkie for about 13 days.
Kimberly Cronin is positive Jasmine is a woman.
If you look at her hands, they're real feminine.
So which is it? Well, 9 Wants to Know dug through nearly 1,000 pages of Jasmine's medical records to try and find the answer. What we found confused us even more. This 2008 genetics test shows that Jasmine has male chromosomes. But this Jefferson County physical exam and this DOC physical exam don't agree with each other when it comes to what organ she has.
It's fairly uncommon overall.
Dr. Matthew Taylor says even among experts in sex development disorders, there are disagreements.
And the process of developing into male or female has to go down distinct pathways. And if you have signals that don't quite push you directly down the male pathway or the female pathway, you end up a little bit in between, and it's ambiguous.
This ambiguity could end up costing all of us if taxpayers have to pay to defend a lawsuit. Is this person a man or a woman?
It's a man.
Samantha Perez also shared a cell with Jasmine in Jefferson County.
I don't want to say to be too explicit, but she showed us that she does not have a female part.
She too plans a lawsuit because she says her civil rights were violated when she was forced to be housed with a man.
If there's doubt, segregate the inmate out.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson says that's the only way to avoid lawsuits, and Jasmine agrees.
DOC needs to recognize, because it's not just me, there's other hermaphrodites in the prison.
Well, during our reporting, we asked other jails how they would handle Jasmine's situation. Many local county jails had no set policy until we started asking questions. Well, now the good news is that has changed. Most jails say they would segregate an inmate for housing, but still allow that inmate to participate in other jail programs as the rest of the inmates do.
This has really been all over Facebook and Twitter. What are people saying tonight? Because I know it's been a very popular story.
People are all over the board. One thing though they ask us is she taking any type of estrogen or something like that? She mentioned that she has breasts. We looked through the medical files and here's what we were able to find. She's taking a very small amount of estrogen, what would be equivalent to a postmenopausal woman's amount of estrogen. Doctors tell us that's not enough to significantly affect what she would look like in terms of her sexuality.
I will say this, a lot of folks have noted this online. It takes a certain amount of courage to lay your life bare in this situation, especially considering what she's gone through over the course of her life, just in terms of her anatomy. How rare are we talking about in terms of how she was born?
You know, there's just not many people that are born like this every year. About 10 to 15 babies in Colorado is what we're told. So when you think of the great number of babies that are born, that's just not a very high number.
And still you can, as we have discussed, when you have inmates on both sides of this is something that's going to lead to a lawsuit no matter what.
You know, it's just both sides, because if you do one thing, you're likely to be in trouble with, you know, other inmates in DOC, or perhaps with the inmate that you put with men in DOC. The alternative is to put her with women, and then, of course, what are women going to say? That's why you heard Scott Robinson there say that it's so important, in his view, that you segregate these inmates. But you can't segregate them and lock them up for 23 hours a day, because that's not fair to the inmate who really has done nothing wrong.
Sure. Difficult situation, one that's still worthwhile for everybody to be talking about. All right, Jace, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And if you have a tip for investigative reporter Jace Larson or one of our other investigative reporters, email blowthewhistle@9news.com or call 303-871-1799.